is Fauci going to prison?
The guy ruined every shred of institutional credibility American public health has when it comes to a national epidemic of some like coast-to-coast proportions.
He took the Fifth Amendment, as you heard there, 111 times.
Rand Paul has his critics left, right, and center. This hearing would not have happened if it wasn't for the determination of this guy.
I either get answers to how this happened, or I want you in prison.
Washington politicians are always getting in your wallet. Now they're messing with your credit card. Your credit card and the security it offers are under attack. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would change the nation's payment system to benefit corporate megastores like Walmart and Target at the expense of everyday Americans. Credit cards keep your payments secure and provide rewards that families use to help make everyday purchases more affordable. The Durbin-Marshall mandates would let corporate megastores cut corners on credit card processing, routing transactions over cheaper, untested networks with weaker security and fewer protections. That means higher risk of fraud, greater chance of stolen personal data, and the loss of rewards programs, just so corporate megastores can pocket billions of dollars in higher profits. Tell Congress to guard your card. Visit guardyourcard.com to take action and learn more.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
This program has become one of the most influential podcasts in America.
I love the personality. You guys are killing it. I just saw you're number one. So congratulations.
It's an honor and a pleasure to welcome the great Sean Hannity.
Guys, I love you. Congratulations on all your success.
This is why you listen to the Ruthless podcast, because nobody else would ask that question. The only political podcast worth listening to is the Ruthless podcast.
It's time for our main event.
The Ruthless Podcast.
Good Thursday to you. Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety program. I'm Josh Holmes, along with Comfortably Smug, Michael Duncan, and John Ashbrook. Left to right across your radio dial as absolutely always. I'll be honest, I'm not sure what you're going to get here. We've gone through a whole bunch of emotion. The whole Fauci testimony. There's a bunch of time there that I think we'd like to forget, and we didn't want to re-examine. I don't know about you guys. It's like weird.
I think it's important to start off by saying that is because when you say the word COVID, like there's for I feel like 99% of people, doesn't matter, which person, whatever, for 99% of people, it feels like, oh yeah, that terrible time I would never want to revisit whatsoever. And this is a case of where you got to overcome that, because believe me, it was awful. Everyone knows it was terrible. It's horrific. What it was done to
Was it
Americans.
that bad for you, though? I feel like you had it pretty good.
Let me tell you, the start of COVID, when I went down and I was like staying with my grandfather, because like news reports had you think that like grocery deliveries, you should give Lysol wipes or my grandfather's going to die. Like this was like beyond how terribly Americans were forced to live in their homes. Kids can't go to school and everything, but it was like a psychological experiment of you'd have people like Fauci, and now we know, just creating these rules of like, if you're within 6 feet, you're going to kill people. It's going to be just absolute bloodbath and murder. And so all of us need to overcome that like block in your mind of like, I never want to think about that time period again, because accountability is finally on the way.
Yeah. I did feel like you were a frontline soldier when you were ordering your takeout and your alcohol deliveries.
And that's another interesting, like, I was thinking about that actually the other day. It's like, I went through God knows how many bottles of bourbon that were like delivered to my place. And it's like, in hindsight, I was like, how did I not die as a result of that? But like, that's another effect, is like so many people were like drinking like hell.
You were in a unique position where you actually didn't have like wife and kids at this particular moment in time, and
we'll definitely get into it. But like, I cannot imagine the horror. First off, that you gentlemen had. I think Duncan, you had a child born in the hospital during
I did.
He did.
You did.
Yeah.
He did. I had a 6-month-old and a family member had a stroke the first 6 weeks of COVID.
Yeah.
And that was a different sort of challenge. But we all had weird things that happened during that period of time you'd love to forget. But to your point, Smug, there is that instinct to kind of bury it all because it was traumatic for so many people. I'm sure
pretend
many
like
of
it's
you
not going to ever show up again.
Right. But it's going to.
Yep.
Right? And
which is the whole purpose.
And the whole purpose of this is to examine what did happen and what was done to us so it never happens again.
Yep. But you know what? In contrast to what Anthony Fauci tried to force on every single household and small business in this country, COVID also in some ways brought out the best of America in that the American spirit rose above and climbed out of it, and it created things like the Ruthless Variety Program.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Way to button it all up.
Yeah, you wouldn't be listening to us without that moment in time. No question about it. Well, listen, I think Alison Krauss in the late 80s said it best when she said, you say it best when you say nothing at all. Which is what Anthony Fauci did today in clip 1.
Dude, that's great.
In the red folder on your table is a copy of Section 192 of Title II of the U.S. Code. Your counsel has been provided a copy as well. That section makes it a crime for a witness appearing under subpoena to refuse to answer any questions pertinent to the question under inquiry. Do you have that in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Let the record record that the witness has refused to answer whether there's a folder in front of him based on his Fifth Amendment right.
Okay, so you had a very good indication at the top of a very important hearing in the United States Senate. Now, Rand Paul, to his great credit, has been all over Anthony Fauci from the very beginning. He suspected very early on, before it became politic, that this guy was making it up as he went along. Now, you also had guys like Tom Cotton who had some intel experience who are saying Wuhan Labs is the thing. Remember, he got all rung up for all of that, like being a traitor and all kinds of different things for suggesting that the place that manufactures COVID viruses could potentially be responsible for it. But Rand had a different point of view even back then, which is this guy has become enraptured with himself. And the more publicity that he's getting, the more the mainstream media is recognizing what they say is the brilliance of Anthony Fauci, the less scientific all of his recommendations are becoming. And he was on this on the very, very beginning. Now, of course, we covered with Ron Johnson on Tuesday, there was a release of diaries where you got the inner monologue of Anthony Fauci, which I think very well established that Rand's theory of the case was correct. And that this guy became incredibly self-important about his role. But what he didn't fully understand was that there's no point in American history where anybody had more power over everyday life of Americans than he had in that very moment. And he chose to exercise it in an incredibly callous, disconnected way from what any quote-unquote science was telling him. And that is what, in the days preceding this hearing, uncovered. That he loved being an SNL skit, loved that New York Times Magazine was doing a profile on him, loved that he was all a part of the political conversation that he'd never really been a part of since the 80s and the AIDS epidemic, honestly. And so late in his career, it was a real capstone, and he was going to take advantage of it. But then he also allowed an incredible injustice upon the American people. And he took the Fifth Amendment, as you heard there, 111 times. His advice clearly from counsel was you cannot say anything about anything because the whole point of this is to try to re-incriminate you for crimes that you may have committed and were pardoned for. Mm-hmm. Recall that the Biden administration pardoned Anthony Fauci for any crime that he may or may not have committed during the course of his tenure. But there's a real court challenge about whether or not future crimes, including perjury, would be admissible in that. And so his advice of counsel was, it doesn't matter really what they ask you, just got to take the fifth. So he did it 111 times. And, you know, I sit here from a standpoint of, yes, am I angry at Anthony Fauci? Yes, I think he's a fucking criminal. And I think what happened to this country on his advice was one of the worst things that I've seen in my adult life. But at the same time, I just want recognition of what happened. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I want some concrete input about how decisions were made, and you can't get it.
Isn't it interesting, Holmes, that we get finally here to the Fauci hearing, and like you said, he was obsessed with his own media stardom. The media propped him up. And the third thing that happened is all the people that were questioning what he was saying, their dissent was silenced at that time. And the more that Fauci's star grew, the more that dissent was punished. This happened to doctors. This happened to scientists. This happened to average Americans. This happened to people on social media because of St. Anthony Fauci and the media that propped him up. Now we get to the end of that story, and he has an opportunity in this hearing to say something. Now, suddenly, he's silent. Yeah. Isn't that ironic?
That's something.
Ironic.
The guy who craved the spotlight that you couldn't get between him and a camera,
and made sure anyone who disagreed with him was silenced.
And now he doesn't have anything to say.
It sure as hell would have been nice to hear him say, "I'm sorry." But he's an East Coaster. He is a career bureaucrat. He has no understanding of the small businesses that were decimated.
Parts?
Dude, there is an entire ecosystem of small businesses that were built by people brick by brick over years that were completely wiped out because of the decisions of one guy who lived in Washington and saw this moment as his capstone in American healthcare. And I will say this, Rand Paul has his critics left, right, and center. This hearing would not have happened if it wasn't for the determination of this guy. And I remember back in 2010 when we were working on his campaign, and here's an eye doctor from Bowling Green, and you're hoping that he's more than a conservative, that this guy will approach his job with some of the enthusiasm that his old man approached his job and his career. And I think that Rand Paul has proven he is his father's son, that this is a guy who will stop at nothing to get to the answers and get justice for people whose livelihoods were decimated because of Fauci.
Well, he was a dog with a bone on this right from the very beginning when it was extremely impolitic to criticize Fauci. He was on it, stayed through it. And I give him great credit because, look, we do need to learn how to never do that again. You can't shut down the American economy. You can't give Americans an ultimatum about some untested medicine. You can't. You just can't operate this way. And it's not the way that we do things in this country.
And the reason it's Anthony Fauci up there is because all of these decisions, as we're now learning, were on his whims. The whole social distancing of 6 feet. That's not there's been some medical studies or historical evidence. He just pulled that out of thin air. That number, he was maybe 6 feet should do it. And then it becomes law coast to think how crazy that is. That in America, a country which has the most enduring form of government, freedom was created here in America, right? We have the most enduring and functional form of government, but this guy is able to somehow, on his whims, create essentially how Americans are or are not allowed to live their lives is just
he fused together pop culture, opposition to President Trump, the liberal left, and the mainstream media to provide what they said was an ultimatum guidance on how you ought to live your life. You can't leave your house, regardless of whether you're 14 or you're 84. And all is the same. You have to shut down your business. Restaurants can't do business.
Right.
All of these things happen to us. And the question before the United States Congress is always like, how do we ensure that that never happens again? Regardless of whether or not Anthony Fauci is someone that you want to throw in prison or not. The question is, how do you ensure that that process, whatever process that was, isn't repeated at any point for future generations of America? That's the job of people you elect to represent you. And that was the whole point of the hearing. Let's get some answers on the inputs and outputs because it feels very disconnected to us. Mm-hmm. It feels like you didn't know and you were just driving hard into the paint on recommendations that were frivolous at best. And yet we all suffer the consequences and we find out in the end, you didn't know?
Well, they had to pretend. They had to stretch the truth. And sometimes they outright had to lie because they wanted compliance. And compliance only happens when you can scare the shit out of people.
Mm. And that is what the liberal left genuinely wants. Mm-hmm. It became evident in that period of time, and we were doing the program. We just started doing the program. It was what the left ultimately wants is compliant citizenry. Mm-hmm. A government that's going to tell you exactly what it is that you need to do. You can go to work on Wednesdays. You can't go to work on Fridays. We're going to send you a little lunch ticket that you can cash in and you can maybe feed your family with it. Thank you. Thank us for that, by the way. You should thank us for our generosity.
Yeah, at 5 o'clock, bang your pots and pans to thank the government for your food coupon.
Yeah. But that's the way that the liberal left viewed the world. Mm-hmm. And it was like this culmination of things. And Anthony Fauci was a centerpiece. He was the one that could execute the vision of a communist left that you've now seen with the DSA and everything else. Like, this is what those people ultimately want. Now, what was fantastic about this is that Fauci, it wasn't enough for him to just say, I plead the fifth. I'm never going to provide any information. I have no interest in how future generations deal with the things that I was dealing with. That's what he said by pleading the fifth. I have no interest in the next epidemic. 100 years from now, you can't look back to me because I'm not going to provide any congressional testimony because I have liability here.
Right.
I can't provide you answers to critical questions because I could Me.
What a public servant.
It's always been him.
Right.
Always been about him.
Not for nothing, the guy ruined every shred of institutional credibility American public health has when it comes to a national epidemic of some like coast to coast proportions. And God forbid we face another situation where there actually
you can't look to him.
And
he has no answer.
Not only is he the boy who cried wolf, he won't even answer a question so we can get to the bottom of it so people can start to rebuild trust. It's like nobody trusts the fucking government anymore.
Yeah, well, and he's the reason. He's the reason. So interestingly enough, though, they also set up a sideshow. There was a sideshow involved. And this is part of the strategy. I can tell you when you do congressional hearings, particularly ones that are noteworthy and they're going to be live streamed on cable television, there is a whole team of people that are involved. There are multiple PR people. As Rand Paul said multiple times, there was 6 or 7 lawyers present for Anthony Fauci during the course of that hearing. But they have to set up a sideshow. Rand Paul told Anthony Fauci, I want you at that dais because I'm asking you the questions. I'm not telling you what to answer, but I'm saying you're the person who's testifying. I don't want your lawyer talking to me. What I want is you providing testimony. That is of public note and record for the American people. They disobeyed it. Ultimately, they demanded that a lawyer that Anthony Fauci hired sit next to him for whatever reason. Maybe it was the optics, whatever. Well, we soon found out it had nothing to do with the optics at all. This guy's job was to create a chaotic moment, and Rand Paul handled it in clip 2.
But the attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table, and he's not obeying that recommendation. There's a row behind you, sir. That's where you were told to sit, and you're not. And now you're disrupting the proceedings. And so, look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered. For a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered, and that's what you're going to do. You are not recognized, sir. Security, please remove him from the room.
I mean,
that's it.
Like, the left will act as though that is a outrageous proposition. Nobody ever asked for that guy.
Right.
They subpoenaed Anthony Fauci and his testimony. No, I don't know who the fuck that guy is. Like, he has no clue.
Yeah, you don't get to bring a second to answer.
You don't get to bring a friend.
Yeah.
This is not.
It's not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah, no, this is not phone a friend. He brought a friend, and they're like, all right, get his ass out of here. Thank God they did. It was fantastic. I'm sure the left is like, oh my gosh, they threw his lawyer out, which Rand Paul very quickly informed the audience he had 6 more of them sitting behind him. So it's not like he was unrepresented. It didn't matter. He had one piece of advice and one piece of advice only. I answer nothing. I take the 5th no matter what. Quickly exploited by Josh Hawley in clip 3.
What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color is the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. And there were a host of senators who were laying into this guy, Bernie Moreno, Ohio's finest. I mean, this guy went into him about what he did to small businesses
and why he ran for Senate,
Ohio, and his entire reason for running for Senate. And Fauci had no answer, which goes to your point about, like, why the hell do you have an attorney sitting next to you if all you're going to do is say, I plead the 5th, I plead the 5th? Why do you need an attorney sitting next to you? I mean, it
was a sideshow.
That's why.
They were trying to make it as much of a circus as they could to try to make it seem like it was an unserious production. It was a very serious production, except for him, who was totally unserious in every single way.
Right.
111 times he was asked a question, and he took the 5th. Wolf did some research, some important research, and said, 111 seems like a lot. Is there anyone, Hillary Clinton with the whole situation that she had, anybody ever taken the 5th that many times in one hearing? Turns out, yes. The answer is one guy. Tony, quote unquote, Joe Batters, a.k.a. Big Tuna Accardo.
Another Italian.
Yeah, he was a Chicago.
Fauci didn't even get the Italian record. But I imagine that's a group it's tough to beat when it comes to taking the 5th. Say what you will about waste management. They know their rights and they get lawyers.
Fauci, Accardo.
Yeah.
All 5th all the time. Let's see a clip of Accardo 1A.
Now, Mr. Accardo, in 1931, you and 4 other of the Capone syndicate, including Paul Labriola's stepfather, were seized in raids following the torch slaying of Mike Heitler. Is that correct? Heitler.
I decline to answer.
Mr. Heitler was burned to death, was he?
I decline to answer.
Wow. What grounds?
On the grounds that it may tend to incriminate or lead me into something.
Yeah, why was it selected to burn that he should be burned to death?
I decline to answer.
Did you have all the leading gangsters in the United States to your 4th of July party?
You find out.
Mamma mia!
There
Smart. Fauci, Accardo, world record holders.
That's the thing. It's a proud history of Italians of being involved in crime syndicates. There it is. and to avoid accountability for their actions, they've learned, you say you're going to plead the fifth. Like, there's a lot of money for lawyers to be made. You go into your local Little Italy, you find a bunch of guys sitting outside a deli, and you say, hey, guys, I got some advice. Just, you might need in your waste management business. You make me your lawyer, and I'll tell you to plead the fifth. You'd make a killing if you just did that. Just find a Little Italy in your town. No. There you go. Find a deli. Look for the guys sitting outside. Offer them that advice. You're going to get some clients. But the fact that Fauci can't even crack the Italian, number one, I don't know if that's more of a statement on, like, how he's being grilled, or that, like, the history of the Italians.
Well, at this point, they hold the 1 slot and the 2 slot in pleading.
So it's going to be tough to beat them on that.
So it was organized crime, 1, Fauci. You're going to make an argument.
Silver in the Italian division. It's not bad. It's not bad.
Which is the toughest division.
I did a little bit
It's a really competitive division.
I did a little bit of research myself, and I found out that Accardo is the great grandfather of Nick and Joey Bosa. NFL
Come on,
players.
are you serious? The
Really?
defensive ends?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they pulled it
Get outta
together
here.
as a family.
Yeah.
Did they? Joey Batters?
Joey, did they? I guess
Yeah.
we'll find out this season.
Oh my God. So this guy was the.
Who's going to have more career hits?
Their great
Is it going to be Accardo
grandfather.
or Nick Bosa?
Holy cats.
Yeah. Small world.
Question of the day.
I did a little bit of Joe Batter's research, and there was a subsequent hearing many years after this one where he took all of that, and they were like, how did you get the nickname Joe Batter? Your name is Tony Accardo.
Yeah. That
sounds nothing like Joe Batters. How did you get that nickname? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they're like, did it have anything to do with batting? Like beating people to death with a bat? And he's like, I don't know.
Multiple witnesses have seen you at crime scenes with a bat. Yeah, who knows where it came from?
Joey Bosa. Oof.
That's amazing. Amazing fact.
I didn't know that.
It's a lineage.
He's still a free agent, I think.
Well, not for long now that you figured that out. People are going to sign him real quick.
He's going to be with the Bears.
Yeah, he's like, well, you can sign my deal or
Yeah.
You got some problems.
Do it the Accardo way.
It turns out the Bills have some problems. You like that new stadium, don't you?
Yeah. You want to know who's buried underneath it?
Be a shame if something happened to it.
Gonna find Jimmy Hoffa under there.
All right. So one more thing before we leave you on this segment. Senator Ron Johnson, who we had on Tuesday,
Great interview.
had perfect, I think, preview to what we were about to see. But he did have an interesting point that I wasn't privy to before he brought it up in clip 4.
On March 27, 2020, you wrote in your diary, to my surprise yesterday, the POTUS sent a letter to governors outlining a plan to reopen county by county while monitoring the spread of virus in low-risk counties. This was half-baked and never shown to Deb or I before it was sent out. So we have evidence that, in fact, you were fully aware of it and certainly approved if not authored it. So I was just simply asking, is that true? I mean, did you literally lie to your own diary? Did you know of that
Amazing.
letter sent out to governors about reopening county by county? Mr. Chairman, I'd ask you to ask the witness to just answer that one simple question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Oh, man.
Did you lie to your own diary, Dunks?
Well, you know how Burgum got the Teddy Roosevelt AI at the museum? They should have just taken Anthony Fauci's diary, scanned it into AI.
Dude, this is a great idea.
And
pumped it back in.
Yeah, pumped it back in, and then they could have done the hearing with the AI.
That is a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And before any of you ask, because I know you will, no, we don't know the Rand Paul staffer that's sitting behind Ron Johnson right there. I've gotten a lot of DMs, a lot of like internet traffic. I'm told she's a very capable individual who is like very serious about her job, who does a terrific job, as evidenced by this hearing itself.
And that's specific for the folks who are smart enough to subscribe to our YouTube. Hit that subscribe if you are not yet. That's because that all the comments would have been like, hold up, guys. Yeah. My question of the day.
Can I get those digits?
I mean, people, listen, they got eyes and ears. It's the same reason that Anthony Fauci's in a lot of trouble. They have eyes and ears.
Yeah.
They like to observe things, and there it is, right there out in the open. She's doing a terrific job, no question about it, as did Rand Paul, Ron Johnson, and everybody who led that hearing. Although he provided no answers, I think it's the most eye-opening thing that we've seen as it relates to COVID in that period of time in American history that we have seen to date. So where does it all lead? Coming up, Fauci isn't out of the woods quite yet. Real legal jeopardy, as it was outlined in a bunch of different components of this testimony. We have the details right after this.
And now from Chevron. Since 1879, their people have been more than a source of energy. They've been a source of progress, helping deliver record U.S. energy production and fueling the breakthroughs that move America forward. Learn more at chevron.com/USA 250.
Okay, so the question is there liability in all of this? And there's a lot of questions about taking the fifth when you've been pardoned for things. Mm-hmm. And there's Supreme Court precedent and all these other things. Catherine Herridge, former Fox reporter, had some interesting takes that I think are worth illuminating here. She reports on the legal pathways to challenge this Fauci pardon. On the pardon, before the hearing, Rand Paul, a former senior Justice Department prosecutor, told me that there are 3 viable legal strategies to challenge the preemptive Biden pardon. Recall that Joe Biden did something entirely unique. I don't think we've ever spent enough time on the perversion of the pardon process that Joe Biden did. I think if you were to ask the average American who'd been around for the last 40 years and followed politics, they would say, like, who's the worst pardoning situation? They'd be like, oh, Bill Clinton, because he pardoned his, like, brother-in-law and he did all these things. That used to be a big deal. And then Joe Biden came along and he pardoned preemptively for crimes that were not charged, a whole rash of people, including Anthony Fauci. And there's a big legal question about whether or not that is valid. Pardoning people for crimes that aren't charged is sort of like unique territory.
And that's the thing. And that's why when you walk down that like presidential walkway that President Trump has put in the White House with the presidential portraits, it's an auto pen for Joe Biden, because a lot of folks have said, looking at the documents, the pardons that were issued by Joe Biden at the end of his presidency, is Hunter's is the only one he actually signed. The rest were just like printed out with the auto pen.
Which is funny because he signed pardons for other members of his family.
That's the thing. He's like, listen, I only have one boy left and I guess I got to deal with it. So who knows? Maybe Hunter was there of like, sign this shit, old man, or you're getting broken legs.
I think there's a lot of truth to that, because I don't know if you remember this, but Hunter was a constant presence in the West Wing in the final months of Biden's term.
There you go.
Unrelated, like Joey Batters.
Unrelated, there was cocaine found at the White House too in that time period. But
you get the pen.
I digress.
You get the pen or you get the bat.
That's the thing. And so that shows you that like the decision make when you have like all these Biden staffers, administration people who were given preemptive pardons, blanket pardons. Did Joe Biden even know what was going on? When the auto pen's just like hammering out.
Well, obviously he didn't, because we know when he signed them, we'd already established 5 months prior that he had no idea what was going on at all.
Right.
Like, we already know that. Like that was demonstrated in Technicolor in front of 60 million people.
He finally beat Medicare.
In a presidential, he beat Medicare in front of the American people. And so we already know that he had no idea what he was doing. But these pardons hang in the balance. And there's a lot of legal questions about how these whole things get enacted in practice. But Herridge has some interesting thoughts. One strategy calls for charging Fauci with a crime, with the expectation that he would file a motion with the court to dismiss based on the pardon. This could open the door to challenging the sweeping pardons, viability, and the years of litigation. In other words, because of the nature of the pardons that Biden signed, they were just blanket immunity, essentially. That Fauci is the tip of the spear on that situation. If somebody decided to charge him with a crime, you're not only dealing with the Fauci situation, you'd be dealing with pretty much everybody, Hunter Biden included, that is a beneficiary of those pardons because they were so broad and unique and unprecedented in that regard. Another strategy involves Congress because Fauci has theoretically been preemptively pardoned against past and future criminal charges related to the NIH work. It can be argued that Fauci has no plausible claim to the Fifth Amendment, the right of self-incrimination. So in other words, what he's doing there when he's pleading the Fifth is pleading the Fifth on crimes that may or may not have been committed, but that he's already been pardoned for. And you'll find out in a second why that might make more of a problem for him. If Fauci takes the Fifth at Senator Paul's hearing, which he did, the committee could seek to compel Fauci's testimony. A finding of contempt could follow, which is a future charge. It's not something that was covered
by the pardon.
By the pardon. Finally, one of Fauci's closest associates has been criminally charged. With the pressure and the right incentives, he might be flipped and become a cooperating witness.
That's the greatest fear of any Italian man.
Is it
when you're hanging out with your friends, you're looking around the room, is anyone going to get the right incentives?
I mean, listen, I feel like Dr. David Morenz could be a part of that. He was a senior advisor to Fauci at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and he was indicted on multiple charges, including conspiracy, obstruction, including destruction, and alteration or falsification of federal records.
I don't know. Morenz doesn't sound like
not exactly
our thing. Doesn't sound like part of the family.
Scarmaglia.
If you know what I mean, you know? I don't know if he can be trusted. There we go.
That's the thing.
Because when you're here, you're family.
That's gonna be Fauci's lesson from this. Is like if you can't trust your family back to like Sicily, you can't work with the guy.
There's no question that Morenz can't be trusted.
Yeah,
Maroney could be trusted.
Well, try to play that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like if you add a vowel at the end of that, it might work. Along with the allegations that personal email accounts were used to evade the Freedom of Information Act, this could be a powerful motivator. So the point is, there's a whole bunch of things here that are for the show, in that Fauci intended to make this whole thing a circus, to pretend like it's not serious. When there are actual questions that need to be answered, regardless of his criminal culpability, you as an American should probably have some answers on, give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's just stop for a sec. Give him the benefit of the doubt. If you give this guy the benefit of the doubt and you say he was acting on every input that he had, and he had the best interest of Americans involved, I don't believe that. But if you did, and you could say it was a tremendously chaotic, black swan event, and he was just trying to deal with it the way he wanted to deal with it. And if you were to give all of that benefit of the doubt, what you'd want to know is, what are the inputs that led you to the conclusions that you did, the 6 feet? The mask, no mask.
Double mask. Dude, we have, I'm telling you, everyone has blocked out that period of time. We're told, no, one isn't enough. Now double mask,
yeah.
Keeping kids out of school.
And don't forget, at first, they said, don't wear masks. At first, they said, don't wear masks because that'll actually infect you. Then they said, no, actually, wear a mask. And then they said, no, wear 2 masks. It's like, dude, this is a joke. What's going on here?
The information that was provided on many occasions, and in one in particular, I forget who asked the question. It may have been, I think it was Lankford who asked the question. He said, well, in May or June of 2020, we were provided, because I'm a part of the Intel committee, classified documents that show that this situation, more likely than not, the words that he used were basically like, all of the conditions exist to demonstrate that this is a lab leak.
Mm-hmm.
He had that. Mm-hmm. And his simple question to Fauci was, you, in your position, were you able to access that information? I don't know what your security clearance was. I know that I had it as a United States Senator who was on the Intelligence Committee. I know that the President of the United States had it. I know that the Speaker of the House had it. The Intelligence Committees on both sides had it. Did you, in this unique position that we will undoubtedly rely on at some point in the next 100 years, have access to that information? Fifth.
Mm-hmm. Mind you, at the time, they were calling Donald Trump a racist for calling it the China virus. Lo and behold, we find out it actually leaked out of the China Wuhan COVID lab. But who would have thought?
But think about the role of government, the way the founders set it up, and the way you're supposed to do things. When you go through a super unfortunate circumstance, you're supposed to deconstruct it, make sure that it never happens again. And the American people are never subjected to the same kind of hardship that they were under a certain circumstance. And so what he's trying to find out is whether somebody who has been elevated to a point where they can literally choose whether to shut down your business, your kid's school, your community, your overall everything, had access to highly classified information at the time. You don't know. We to this day don't know. He won't say. It's the fifth.
Which is the opposite of what he was doing at the time, front and center in Style magazine. And if you're wondering why so many people in this country are like, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the message from the DSA, that the government should be more powerful, the government should have more control over your life, you have right here what we've just talked about for the last 20 or 25 minutes, an object lesson in the consequences of letting the bureaucracy and the unchecked power of people who control your lives from afar run amok. Buddy, this is the reason why you do not want what the DSA has to offer, because all they want is more of it. They want more Faucis. They want more political insiders doing full magazine spreads when they're pushing their message. And then when the consequences come around, they're nowhere to be found. They're taking the fifth.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's true. So the summary of the SCOTUS rulings that pertain to what Herridge had brought forward are pretty interesting. There's a Brown v. Walker case in 1896. It's the key Supreme Court case that governs the precedent over this issue. And the court held that once a person has received a valid accepted pardon for an offense, they can no longer invoke the Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination with respect to that offense. We had 2 hours of it. I can think of at least 6 that I watched that would fall into that category.
I mean, that
real question.
I mean, that's damning.
Real question. I mean, if you're talking about, it's not about the perjury. He was worried about the future offenses that he's not pardoned for, so he wanted to take the fifth. But people asked very direct questions about whether or not he ignored or had evidence of things that he went contrary to at the time. which of course are criminal violations. And he declined to answer that. Well, the Supreme Court in Brown v. Walker, which is now, 120 years, 140 years of precedent in this country, held that he doesn't. Where are we going to fall on that? What's going to happen to this guy? Is somebody going to do something about it? Feels like somebody should do something about it. Look, it's on the books for a reason.
Yep. It's bottom line, black and white. An accepted pardon for a specific offense removes the Fifth Amendment privilege regarding that offense because the risk of prosecution no longer exists. Something's got to be done here, folks.
I was all about, let me just say this. I have a much more moderating view than most of our audience on it, in that it was a scary fucking time.
Sure.
And I had a little bit of an old school mentality at the time that I've since disabused myself of entirely. That was, you have experts who have spent their entire life studying for this sort of thing. And what they have to say is not irrelevant. Like you really ought to listen to them. You don't listen to them on a day-to-day basis, but when you have a once-in-a-100-year pandemic, surely there are 5 or 6 people within the confines of government that have trained their entire life for this very moment. And Anthony Fauci was foremost amongst them.
You'd like to think they're telling you the truth.
So at the time, I was like, okay, I'm interested in what that guy has to say. And then in the aftermath, I was like, he was wrong about everything. And everything that we did was wrong. And it's horrible. It had massive societal problems. You're still looking at it from an education standpoint with kids and whatnot. But I thought, okay, people make mistakes, infallible. Let's just figure out how to never fucking do that again.
I would expand his pardon and say he's also pardoned for lying about everything. And we need to have like a truth and reconciliation committee like they did in South Africa about COVID. Like, will somebody stand up and be like, I don't know, venting all those people in New York probably murdered all of them.
Yep.
Like, say that, because that's obviously what happened. Remember the meat lockers outside of the hospitals?
Yes.
The original COVID protocols killed a bunch of people.
Yep.
More people don't know that.
Yep.
You know, like
I want to know whose decision.
Right. And like, if it means people don't go to jail, but we learn the truth, I think in the long view of history, like that is more worth it to our society. If I had to take that deal right now, I would take that deal in a heartbeat. Absent that, I want the guy in prison.
Yeah, that is where you just summarize exactly where my head's at. I either get answers to how this happened, or I want you in prison.
Yeah,
one of the two things.
Yeah, it sounds nice. They're not going to provide answers because they're fucking cowards, and they're not in prison. But so many people in this country lost their livelihoods because of the decisions these people made. There has to be some sort of reckoning. There has to be some sort of reckoning. And I know that they had like the PPI, the payments, and that everybody took advantage of, and there's all this fraud and everything. And that was an effort to try to, bolster the economy. But there are people who lost their livelihoods because of this guy. And like, I don't think people are going to be satisfied until there's justice. There's so much talk in Washington about justice. And you hear on the mainstream media, we need justice. And it's like, why is there never any justice for the bureaucrats who are in charge? It's because they're not elected. They're not accountable to a single person.
Well, yeah.
Where's the accountability?
I want the justice too. But if we can't get justice, at least give us the truth.
Yeah.
Absence.
I'm more concerned about what happens with my kids and their grandkids 60 years from now when one of these things happens again.
It would be nice.
And whether or not you have a public record today.
I don't think it's going to be 60 years, man. And that's, to me, that's what feels the most messed up about this, is because like none of this is actually unprecedented. And none of this is actually like outside of living memory, because China did this with avian bird flu. This happened like 20 years earlier and they got away with it. and they ran the same playbook. And this time they had a left-wing media and these bureaucrats to help protect them, which is the most crazy. Like when you said that, like, I think most Americans probably felt the way you did, Holmes, where they're like, I imagine that we've got the best people on the job. And that's to me the most insidious part of what these people did is they took your trust and your belief in this country and the people who choose to serve it, and they used it against you. They told you trust the experts as a way to cover for any questioning of themselves. Mm-hmm. They said trust the science, as if science is this immutable, godlike tablet that's been passed down, and it's not an ongoing changing process as we understand more. They're like, no, shut up. Trust the science, trust the experts. If you disagree, you'll be silenced. You'll be removed. We're going to get you out of your job. We're going to tell everyone you're a danger.
Yeah, we had the unfortunate circumstance for working in and around people with integrity, where you couldn't ultimately come to even the fathom of the idea that they were making it up as they went along.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because it was new. But because it was new in that era, you got to know everything there was to know about it. So our question of the day, when you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Variety program, is Fauci going to prison? We got a lot of precedent here. It's not just that one. There's like 4 more Supreme Court cases that I'm looking at.
Or what should be done with Fauci?
That will tell you that you can't take the fifth on pardon on things that you've already been pardoned for. And it's because of what we just outlined. Mm-hmm. Because the truth actually matters. Because it does. The truth prevents future occurrences of what happened. There is 3 Supreme Court cases that I'm looking at that would suggest this guy's got a real problem. Is he going to prison? I don't know. Why don't you tell us when you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Variety program? We read all of your answers and get back to the very next episode with a summation of everything else. And I got to tell you, we've got a hell of a lot left in this show on the variety side. I'm going to lift things up. There's a woman. You won't believe this. There is a woman who managed to flip her SUV in her own garage.
Hell yeah.
Can we just look at the clip and we jump off from there?
Amazing. Sideways, bro.
In her own garage.
I can't believe you doxed my wife like that.
Can I ask a serious question? Serious question. Is anyone here surprised? Is everyone like, what? How could that happen?
My wife's actually a good driver.
Yeah.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Under the advice of counsel.
Yeah. Under the advice of counsel. So Cook County, this is Chicago, sheriff's deputies responded about 7:50 p.m. Monday, July 27 to report a rollover crash with injuries in the attached garage of a home in the block of 3900 Galena Avenue in an unincorporated Arlington Heights. Somehow there was a woman who figured out how to roll her car in her own garage.
I don't know how that's physically possible. I'm just being honest with you guys. I don't have I don't have the same show sheet everybody else has, but I'm looking at this car on its side. How does that happen?
It gets even worse, though. The woman in her 60s or 70s had to be extricated.
Yeah, no, the jaws of life on her.
Jaws of life on your own driveway.
In your garage.
That's a real wake-up call. Somebody's got to take the keys.
The initial investigation indicates that the female driver of the silver Toyota RAV4 was entering the garage when she hit the right side of the structure with her right wheel in the passenger side. The wheel caused the small SUV to crawl up either the brick entrance or the drywall.
No, this is made up. What, we got the Spider-Man car? And it climbed up the drywall?
Climbed it up. There was white powder on the passenger side of the front tire. The white powder was either from the brick or the mortar.
I mean, it's honestly kind of impressive. The car was a Toyota RAV4.
It did more than I thought it could.
If it can climb up the side of a house, I mean, get that to Consumer Reports.
Yeah, I did more than I thought.
That's going to help the rankings.
I totally agree. Fantastic.
Also, well-built structure.
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't go anywhere.
I mean, that house, it seemed to be intact. The garage didn't seem any worse for the wear.
Somebody talked to that construction guy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a general contractor out there with a lot of pride in that structure.
Did his job.
No question about it. There was a man who impaled himself.
Oh.
And this is like a 3-part story.
Okay.
A hiker impaled himself with a trekking pole. You know how I'm not in favor of this at all.
Hiking in general?
No. Yeah. Hiking in general. But also, when you see the people who are like super outdoorsy, where they're hiking and they hike with like ski poles.
Yeah.
Like you're being,
like you're going for time here.
Like it's Everest.
Yeah.
Right. You're not Pyramid Zerbriggen walking along a path.
Yeah. Well, this guy decided to go up this mountain in Montana. Well, it didn't end well. If we can put up graphic 1.
Cool.
That's a bit much.
So, he impaled himself with the pole. And by trekking with the trekking pole, he went up this mountain. David Cifaldi, 32 of Billings, was climbing up Granite Peak with 2 friends on July 20 when he slipped on a rock while ascending a 12,799-foot mountain. The group was about 10 miles into the challenging climb when the accident occurred. As Cifaldi fell, one of the trek poles pierced through his torso.
This guy was a nurse too, is the thing. This is a nurse guy.
Yeah, the nurse said the medical instincts immediately took over as he tried to determine the severity of the injury.
Looks severe to me.
Here's the thing, too. At the start,
it's got a pole through his back.
At the start, it says he's with friends. So like, what are they doing here? Right here, they're like, as a trained nurse, he's trying to survey this. None of his friends is like, hey, you know that thing's going fucking through your torso?
Dude, hey, buddy, that looks bad.
Yeah.
It looks real bad. Well, anyway, Cifaldi's hiking partners photographed the injury so he could evaluate the damage. According to the GoFundMe campaign created to help his recovery, his friend Jess Ross said the pole went completely through his lat muscle, leaving openings several inches apart. Despite the shocking injury, Cifaldi believed that he could continue moving. And what this guy decided to do is, after determining the wound appeared to involve soft tissue rather than life-threatening injury, he decided he could make his way back down on foot.
Hell yeah.
So he did not ask for a helicopter ride out. The medical bills for the accident still put him.
What's everyone's take on this? Is you think that's like a cool thing to do?
Here's my take. Is I think it is a breath of fresh air that in our society today, men are still men. You know, it makes me think of the moment in this great movie called Kingdom of Heaven, where Liam Neeson is talking to his son, and he says, "I once fought for 2 weeks with an arrow through my testicle." I don't know if you remember this moment, but he was giving his son a speech telling him about being a tough guy and being a man. And this guy had a ski pole through his
So your
side.
example of a guy being a guy is someone who got like gender reassignment surgery via arrow. I don't think this is being a guy being a guy. It's not like, you know how I'm going to show everyone I'm a man is I'm going to go on my nature hike. First off, okay, I'm going to piss a lot of people off, but I don't care.
Okay.
The guy's a nurse, okay? Like, what? Come on. I'm against that.
He helps people.
He helps people.
I'm going to attack it. I'm going to
attack it?
Nurse is a gendered profession.
Oh my
God.
Nurse is
just like stewardess.
We're going to get so many emails.
I don't trust.
Just like stewardess. Unbelievable.
Like if a guy is stewardess rolls up with my drink, I'm like, what's happening here? You know, maybe I'm a 1950s kind of guy. That was my first giveaway on something's going on here. Then he's one of these guys who's
something's
like,
going on.
I'm gonna hike so intense. I need ski poles. Okay, what are they for? To make sure I have a good footing. Also, I slipped and put the goddamn ski pole through myself. And Ashbrook's like, this is a guy who's got it together.
Well, I thought, he walked 10 miles and wouldn't accept the helicopter.
Everything that's been happening.
I feel like that's a pretty tough move.
Smug's take is you bought your ticket, you knew the risk. I say let the plane crash.
Well, I don't agree with any of that, but the one thing I do agree with Smug on here is like the guy puts this pole through his body. And very luckily, he's not bleeding out on the spot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
it's not a lot of blood in that picture.
Not a lot of blood.
Yeah. And instead of evaluating that situation, been like, boy, oh boy, I'm lucky. I got to call 911.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and elevate my heart rate.
That's the thing.
You know, like, let's see. Maybe I'll start
Duncan
bleeding.
is 100% right.
Yeah, I can go down the hill. But
this is also why if there's a zombie invasion, we're all going to Duncan's house, is because he has like rational decision making. Like Ashbrook's first take is, I don't know, seems cool. Maybe he'll die. Like the decision making to be like, I have a metal pole through my body and I can't even see how bad it is. And he's like, friends, can you take a photo? First off, his friends fucking hate him. That they're like, you know what? We're not going to make the call here to be like, as your friend, I don't want you to die. There's a piece of metal going through your entire body. Listen, buddy, I know you're a nurse, but in my opinion, we're going to get you. I'm calling 911. We're getting you out of here. Listen. They're like, I'm taking a photo for the gram. Everybody, look at this guy. He's got a pole through himself. I'm indifferent if he walks 10 miles and croaks.
Well, he's a man's man. I'm about to throw you a curveball here, Smug, because I think this segment is going to go in a different direction.
Played through
There
pain.
was a situation similar in nature at Yosemite with a woman in clip 8.
Hi, I'm Grace, and this is me hiking a trail. I mean, before I hike a trail.
Phil made it to Clark's Point in his dress to walk out. Grace had heat exhaustion, and Phil had to do something.
There was a
helicopter.
So for you audio only
pulling her
listeners,
out.
There is a woman named Grace who was on a hike on Yosemite's Mist Trail, a popular steep granite stairs route in the Vernon Fall. Roughly 1.5 to 2 miles. Not a big, it's 1.5 to 2 miles, a walk.
It's a bit of a hike.
It's 4 laps, 8 laps around a track.
She suffered heat exhaustion and she was helicoptered out, as you saw in that video. Yosemite Search and Rescue treated her on the trail with fluids and IV and then extracted her with a helicopter hoist because she couldn't hike back down. The rest of the Hobbit hikers group continued on the trip.
So one thing I want to know is, so run that clip back of the helicopter having to pull her out of that thing. So, I mean, like that's a hell of a clip. Was there an uncomfortable discussion where like they're like, okay, we're going to dispatch the helicopter. What's the ballpark on her weight? Because like when you're like when it's not fixed wing aircraft, they have to know that shit. That's important.
They definitely.
They're like, how much does your luggage weigh? Like it's important that they don't mess that up, right?
Right.
And so like, is she gonna? Are they gonna be like, is she lying? They're like, that lady's gonna look me straight in the face and be like 110. And the pilot's like, we got to be real about this shit.
It's like, hey,
I don't want to kill 2 good pilots because this lady.
Deuce and half
is about to drop on a mile hike. But it is a hike. A mile is a hike.
That lady's
it's
all
a bit much.
3 bills.
And that goes back to the whole hiking thing.
Yeah,
this whole hiking
thank you.
thing.
Thank you. This is where I wanted to take this. Thank you.
You've done it to yourself. I wouldn't.
Yes.
Here's the thing is, I think the smart thing, if you find yourself stupidly in that situation, is to call 911. But I think maybe 911 says, well, we all have to live with our consequences and choices, don't we? Goodbye.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm not going to dispatch. You're going to have your little ski poles and go up your 10-mile mountain. You know why climbing a mountain is tough is because there's consequences. You know why like they don't helicopter people outdoors to Mount Everest is because like, oh, you survived it. But many didn't. And that's why it matters. But I guess you're one of the guys who didn't survive it.
This guy walked back. He didn't call 911. He walked back.
But that's the unfortunate thing.
I think that's the
sad part of the
juxtaposition of the story.
Is that instead of him getting what he deserves, we got to GoFundMe. This guy's trying to GoFundMe his way out of consequences. He's like, oh, the bill's still $8,000. He didn't get the bill that he should have gotten.
And Ashbrook supports him.
Yep. I do.
He does.
I actually support this guy too.
I'm against
he
him.
managed to
10
get
miles with a
he
thing
managed
through him?
to impale himself and walk 10 miles down.
Well, you
to
never
get
get a male
himself
nurse
to
who's
a hospital.
impaling himself. You know, that's a new thing.
Whereas
you
this,
never expect that kind of a thing.
listen, the outdoors isn't for everybody. It's just not. And like, we live in this culture where people are like, "Oh, I'm a hiker.
Yep.
Oh, I hike stuff. Oh, I'm an outdoors person. I do outdoor." Fuck you. You're not. If you weigh 450 pounds, get the fuck inside.
So I'm even past that.
And like, it's never going to work for you out there because the rest of us as society are going to deal with you on less than a mile in with a helicopter that we have to drag you out like a cow.
Not just her. Not just her, dude. I'm against all hiking. All hiking. Nature is not a recreational activity. It's an opponent. You know what I mean? So if you're trying to play on a PvP server and be like, hey, my hobby is nature. I'm going to go to a mountain where the wild animals are because it's not fit for people. It's not fit for people. And people knew better. You know, like, where did the settlers go? They're not like, let's put these houses on top of a mountain. No, they try to find like a responsible area to live, and so civilizations thrive. But these people, that's not good enough.
Where did
like,
the settlers go?
They're not like, you know what? Mankind has progressed to where I have air conditioning and I've got indoor plumbing. That's not good enough. I'm gonna grab some ski poles and I'm gonna go out there and get after it. Well, you got after it. It's a shame it didn't finish the job. But that's the thing is, nature rarely lets people get away with it like this. And then, to his shame, it's a GoFundMe trying to cover his ass on this.
Rarely do I find myself so aligned with Comfortably Smug.
It's the truth, because I'm right. That's why.
He's right. You don't go do that stuff. Don't do that stuff. Like, if you want to go do it, that's fine, but you're ultimately responsible for whatever. I'm not going to feel bad about the impaling.
If you want to be like, I'm nature's champion, well, okay. Prove it.
I just, if you're 400 pounds, don't go on a hiking. Whose idea was that? Hey.
Wasn't her doctor?
Grace, you want to go hiking? Who the fuck was that friend, by the way? Hey, Grace, you want to go hiking? They saw Grace.
I know why they did it, dude.
Grace is a friend.
It was because of the video. They wanted the Instagram. They're like, now the helicopter's getting Grace out of here, dude.
Like,
that's 1 million views.
Grace
Get
do
the
this.
clicks.
They're like dimes to donuts. We get a great Insta if you're getting
100%.
airlifted out of this joint.
100%.
Garbage society.
Don't go into the environment unless you're prepared for it. I'm just going to say. All right, let's play a game, fellas. King of the Hill. I think I'm a champion.
And I am the challenger this week, and I'm bringing Steve Schmidt.
Ooh. The old fat man.
Our judge is Smug, and bailiff is Ashbrook. Our defending champion is Kinzinger.
Yeah, no, he's been good. He's been
pretty good. Let's go ringside.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. It's time for King of the Hill. In the red corner, fighting from his own porch in Utah, the old fat man, Steve Schmidt. And now, in the blue corner, fighting from who knows where, and current champion of the world, Adam Kinzinger.
Very good.
Okay. This is a little bit more intellectual than I tend to play on the program, but I think the judge and jury is going to appreciate it in large part because of this week being Lindsey Graham's funeral and a seminal moment to not only recognize what Lindsey Graham had worked on his entire life, whether the politics were good, whether the politics were bad, whether they were Republican, whether they were a Democrat, brought world leaders together on a single thing. And the outgoing takeaway of all of that was that things are a lot different than you think they are, certainly at the beginning of the Trump administration. So Exhibit 5 Bring it up. It takes me 2.5 minutes to explain why it's a lie that we gave all the weapons to Ukraine that we needed for Iran. But the lie can be said in one sentence. We're at a disadvantage when reality is nuanced, but the truth is essential. All right.
That's his take.
Here's why I find this to be particularly galling. He still has Slava Ukraine in his deal.
And the shirt.
There were two people that were here, Benjamin Netanyahu and Vladimir Zelensky.
Oh, right. That's right.
The two of them had meetings with the President of the United States. There was one that was contentious. That one was with Israel. It was with Netanyahu. Increasingly, the Trump administration in and of itself has understood that the Ukraine situation is not only important, but it is something that they have invested in and will continue to invest in. So much so that they endorsed a bill this very week on Russia sanctions. They call it the Lindsey Graham fucking bill.
Right.
That does all of the fucking things. And this guy is still trying in this very moment during that, like in the backdrop of all of that, to suggest that this administration isn't standing with Ukraine. Now, granted, it's been a juxtaposition.
Bailiff, do we have a clock?
It's been a juxtaposition, but that's the reality, and this is the reality he's trying to present. It's the most absurd take of all time, because only if you put the flag in your thing would you ever come to the conclusion that this administration is not working on behalf of Vladimir Zelensky at this point.
Okay. Exhibit number 8. Steve Schmidt decided to get to the left of most of the Democratic Party on Ken Martin's scandal at the DNC, saying the Democratic Party, which has lost 2 of the last 3 presidential elections to the most prolific liar on earth since Hitler and Goebbels' last breath, isn't measuring up and meeting the moment, to say the least. So he's calling for the ouster of Ken Martin at the DNC, former Republican strategist, and comparing Donald Trump to Goebbels and Hitler in the same post.
Short and sweet. Round one goes to Schmidt.
Let's go. Let's go. Oh, I got more.
Also, the bailiff is asleep. Wake up, Grandpa. Game's still going.
Okay.
I disagree with the judge.
Exhibit 10.
Thank you, bailiff.
Steve Schmidt says, a new axis has gathered. They are at war with America, while America's at war with itself. Classic Steve Schmidt turn of phrase there. And led by a latter-day Nero who is corrupt, evil, sick, demented, and unfit beyond any measure of description, because all words fail to capture the grotesquerie of his conduct. I will note a couple of things about this post. Number one, the quote of himself to his own Substack. The use of what is a disputed photo, I believe, of graves. Grok says that it's actually from Jakarta. It's not from Iran. In fact, was used as an Iranian misinformation campaign.
Amazing. Dude, that is good content.
Wow. I will note that Snopes insists it is Iran. I think this is sort of a point of contention.
Okay.
But
it's an argument.
But that didn't stop Steve Schmidt.
No. An argument be damned. An argument be damned.
We got to stop Nero.
Well, I'm not going to go with the intellectual argument because that didn't work.
No, not in this court.
I think I'm just going to go with Exhibit 1, where you have Pete Hegseth is tweeted something basically thanking all of the members of our armed services who helped secure our southern border. Adam Kinzinger, who was a member of Congress, also a member of the armed services, said, I've worked the border with the military. It's not hard work, dude.
Insane. Oh. Wow. Okay. That rounds his insane take. What a crazy ass take.
Yeah.
What a crazy ass take.
You know what? Troops aren't doing much. Doesn't seem too difficult to me. Insane take. Wow.
It's weird to admit you were bad at your job. To own Trump.
So we go to round 3.
That was a good one. All right, you got to go first.
Okay, so I think I'm going to go to Exhibit 3, and I'm going to ask for indulgence a little on this, in that what he's done here is just embedded his own situation on Substack, where
this is straight up misuse of internet.
Misuse of the internet. And he's got something that basically, it's an article that infers that he voted to impeach Donald Trump, and whatever. And then he just simply say, you can listen wherever you get podcasts or watch at, and then
to the dude, that's incredible.
It's good misuse.
It's just fantastic misuse. And what a
Ashbrook right now is trying to figure out what he did wrong.
It's a sentence and a preposition.
The guy's a 900-year-old guy. I would link to
he did
a screenshot and say,
he
watch
also
here.
did end the sentence in a preposition. There's no question about that.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay.
It all comes down to this.
Exhibit number 7, please. Of course, this week,
this is insane, dude.
Lindsey Graham was laid to rest. A legend in the United States Senate. Steve Schmidt, who was a chief strategist to John McCain's campaign for president of the United States, who was best friends with Lindsey Graham. They knew each other very well. Obviously, decides this is the appropriate time to tweet this. Lindsey Graham was the smallest of men. Thankfully, there was a microscope around to record the insanity that will soon leave the American people slack-jawed. Link again to his own Substack. And a picture of Lindsey Graham, the man who is now dead.
Jeez.
That is just like stunningly tasteless.
Yeah.
Boy, this is a tough decision. As I stated earlier, this is not an intellectual court.
This was a man.
This is one who, you see someone being a real just slime bag.
Yeah.
Just real disgusting piece of garbage. I mean, there's something to be said for that. And I think it's for that reason we have a new champion. It's Steve Schmidt, folks.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to argue.
Unfathomable levels of being human garbage.
I'm literally not going to argue even a lick.
And he's doing that for Substack clicks, man. He's like, my soul in hell as long as I get these clicks.
That was a fair ruling. I would have done the same thing. That is outrageous.
Oh my God.
We want to get your comments. Let me just say, we did a whole Lindsey Graham episode on the show, so I'm not going to belabor the point. But this was the thing in D.C. This week. And I will say that he's a throwback that we're probably going to have to dig pretty deep to figure out how to empower people like Lindsey Graham. And it wasn't that he cared more, and he did. It wasn't that he worked harder, and he did. It was a happy warrior who had the vast majority of our ideology in mind, but he went to war for his stuff every day, and he didn't care where the politics lied. And you saw this in the funeral. You saw, dude, everybody in 2024 was like, cut and run on this Ukraine thing. He didn't. Now it's back. People were like, holy shit, it was really good that we didn't do that. Really good that we didn't do that. Israel. You get people, the Tucker Carlsons or whatever, like, why are we defending Israel? Why are they? We're going to get to a point where you realize that the only friends we have in a region that can cause us an awful lot of harm is that. But he was standing in the breach of it. You need more people like that who are going to do the thing when the politics get super difficult. And they're not so much worried about their own poll number. Like, he had to fight for his own reelection. primary elections. But he did it with a smile on his face. And like, dude, I had so many disagreements with Lindsey. I had personal arguments with Lindsey about a whole bunch of different things. But he was always willing to do the thing. And as long as we have that, we're going to be in a great spot. And so I feel like it was worth saying because, that's my summation of who that guy was and what it is that we're going to miss.
He was a giant.
Giant. All right, let's get into your comments. We asked you on Tuesday, what will the DNC mortgage next? Now, remember this clown. What's his name?
Ken Martin.
Yeah.
He mortgaged the building.
He literally tried to mortgage
Reverse
his building.
mortgaged it.
Yeah. He tried to mortgage his building.
No, they have. He has.
Oh, he did mortgage.
It is
his
mortgaged.
building. Yeah. Yeah. And so the question was, what will he mortgage next? Comment 1, we always start with the voice.
Okay. Thank you, Smug, for the assist on this one. The first comment comes from HFN in text. HF writes, next, the Dems will mortgage Schumer's sombrero, Jazzy's wigs and nails, Plattner's oyster farm, Kamala's yellow school bus, and maybe Biden's garage.
Oh,
what a lineup.
That's
HF
somebody
and
who's
text.
paying attention.
Yeah.
Just reading through that list, unless the Biden garage comes with the Corvette, I don't think they're getting much money for any of that.
Not going to clear.
No.
Yeah. No, not a high number. No question.
Well,
Dunks and
our
runs,
enemies
what do
might-
we got?
Our enemies might pay for the docks inside.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
And may have.
Comment 2. This is from Incognito. Incognito writes, what will the DNC mortgage next? I'm thinking that the most valuable asset they have left is personnel. Looks like it's time to put some ass on the street. They should start with Hakeem. Something tells me he's an earner.
Oh my God!
Jeez.
Holy shit!
Pimp out Hakeem Jeffries.
I didn't know where that was headed until 2/3 of the way in.
But he really set it up.
He did.
Or she.
Or she.
We got a great audience.
Incognito.
Although I got to disagree with the earner part. Unless somebody has a fetish for lazy eyes.
Also, slackjaw.
Yeah.
Maybe there's I'm not getting into it. Whew. I got to take a deep breath before we get to comment 3. Smugglesworth.
Comment 3 is from Thomas Rafferty, and Thomas writes, the next thing the DNC could mortgage is the Biden Presidential Library. Oh, wait. That is rude. That's tough. That's tough.
That is tough stuff. Nobody's even discussed it.
The funny part is the DNC will probably need a second mortgage to pay for that.
Oh, it's so bad. What an episode, fellas. We're going to get back to you with Fun Time Friday. And believe me, this was a relatively serious episode from what we normally do, but we're going to get to some fun times. There's an awful lot left on the cutting room floor tomorrow. But I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, thank you so much to the minions. And remember, if you have not yet, go to the YouTube and hit that subscribe because it's more fun in video. So until next time, minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Friday. Stay ruthless.